Hi, I'm Steve Clatterbuck with Infra Consulting, and I am with the Red Hat product team. And today I'm going to be giving a overview of using Ansible Tower to manage OpenShift and virtual machines. So the goal of the demonstration today is to demonstrate OpenShift Day 2 operations with Tower. And we're going to go through doing application onboarding with Ansible Tower into OpenShift, and then demonstrate VM configuration with Ansible. So as you can see here, I have a new OpenShift cluster installed. And typically what we would do as sysadmins is go through and configure all of the components that are required to run a production cluster, whether it's OAuth, machine sets, things like that. That can be time consuming. A lot of times the code's not stored all in the same place, and you have to do a lot of manipulation to custom scripts and things like that to actually make that work. So what I've done is I've written a playbook up within Ansible to go ahead and do this for you. And we'll be demonstrating setting up a OAuth operator that authenticates to GitHub and pulls down users that can log into OpenShift. So within Ansible Tower, I've already logged in, and we can go here to templates. So a template is just a running an Ansible playbook in Tower. So I'm going to OAuth GitHub OpenShift, and most of my customers have Active Directory or some sort of LDAP. I don't have that currently in the demo environment, but I'm mimicking it with GitHub. So the concept is the same. You create an OAuth provider within OpenShift and sync it back to whatever you want, whether that's AD or GitHub or anything else. So in here, I have all my scaffolding for this, and I have my playbook that I have stored up in Git. So this playbook syncs in here from projects, and then that's how we create templates, is from projects. All of my credentials for OpenShift are stored in Ansible Vault. They are encrypted and not readable. I set up the Vault credential to decrypt that file, and that is even decrypted or encrypted in Tower. So let's go ahead and let's launch this. So we're seeing the play go through in Ansible Tower right now, and it's going through and it's creating a secret and it's creating the actual OAuth. So that was pretty quick. Let's go to OpenShift and see if we can log in. All right, I'm in. So it went in and it allowed me to log in with my GitHub account. So I automatically have an account now in OpenShift using the GitHub identity provider. Now let's go to the second part of our demo, and we want to demonstrate application onboarding with Ansible Tower into OpenShift. So if you see from my last demo portion that I created myself an account in OpenShift. So I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like for, let's say I'm a developer and I want to create a project, and I have access to create a project. So I can go in here and I'm going to name it Steve Project. Skip that. And I can create it. I can create a service account. I can create secrets. I can do pretty much whatever I want in here. And this is all great. This is part of OpenShift, and this is what we want. We want to give developers the opportunity to be able to get what they need and do what they want, right? However, we want to do this in a fashion that abides by our infrastructure controls and standards. So we want to keep them from, one, getting themselves into trouble, and two, we want to keep our standards in place. So let's see how this looks if I do it in Ansible Tower from the application onboarding template that I created. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to go to application onboarding, I can just run it from here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want them to tell me what app they are going to create. So I'm going to call this JBoss. And I'm going to click next, and it'll go over review, and we'll launch it. So as you can see, I have an error here. Typically in a demo video, you would just go in, edit this out. But I think this is a good time to stop and show a feature of Ansible. So what happened here is I was missing some quotations in my code, and I went into my editor, and we'll go here, and I uploaded the code changes into GitHub. So if I go back to app onboard, you can see that, go to tasks. So we can go to the main.yaml here, and you can see that I added the quotes in there to fix the error. Now, so from a tower perspective, I want to just go in, and I don't want to have to worry about reconfiguring anything in tower. I want to just run this again and have it magically correct itself. So I'm going to relaunch on all, and you'll notice here in the project right here, this is going to have a green ball here. That means it's pulling the latest. So Tower is going back to my repo here, and it's pulling down the latest version of that automatically. So I don't have to do anything in Tower to update that. It's all done via code, or infrastructure as code. So back in OpenShift, I can go in and I want to see what was created. Notice here, I have 4 new projects within OpenShift: JBoss, Dev, QA, Stress, and UAT. These environments can align to anything that you want them to be in your environment, but basically this goes in this play, and it creates an environment, a project for each environment that you have. And we could also do prod and point to another cluster or something like that. But it also goes in, and it's going to create all of my secrets and service accounts. So you see down here, JBoss service account was created. So I can have this scaffolding in place to control how developers build things within OpenShift, which makes it easily automatable later on down the road. And it takes far less time. So the final portion of this demo is we are going to demonstrate how we manage virtual machines in the cloud or anywhere with Ansible Tower. In this demo, we are going to put the CloudWatch agent onto a newly created VM, and we are going to have Ansible discover that newly created VM automatically through the AWS plugin that comes with Ansible Tower. From there, we are going to install the CloudWatch agent on each machine, and we are going to configure the proper log groups in Amazon CloudWatch. So back in Ansible Tower, I have my sections here for inventories. And I've set up an AWS inventory, and I can go in here to this tab and I can configure sources. So I have AWS Linux, and let's go ahead and we'll go in and edit that. And you can see that my source is EC2, and I have my credentials set up. So this is the default key that I use to connect to Linux instances, and that is encrypted. I have the regions that it covers, and then I have a tag that I've created for this demo, role equals Linux. So Ansible will not pull anything, any VM, if its role is not Linux. I can do anything in here as far as instance filters goes or things like that. So on the host tab of this, I have a host that I discovered that is actually deleted now. So what I want to happen is for whenever I run my playbook to configure CloudWatch, I want Ansible to go in and rediscover the new host, which it will do on every run. So every time that this playbook runs, it is going to go in to EC2 and only do it on instances that have the Linux tag on them. So back in AWS, these are my 3 new VMs and roll Linux. You can see that down there. So let's go ahead and let's see what Tower does whenever I run an inventory sync. So I'm going to do this manually this time just to show you how it works, but typically this would start at a playbook execution. So the playbook would kick off an inventory sync and it would pick up the VMs. So let's go here to the host tab, and there we go. I have my 3 new hosts have been imported. So with that, I'm going to log out here, and I want to run this new template as a user that has less permissions, so someone like the help desk. So if I go to CloudWatch config, you notice I have the power in here to pretty much do anything I want, change anything I want, and things like that. Let's do this from a technician perspective. And we're back. So I've logged in as tech, and if you notice, if I go into the CloudWatch config, all of the options are grayed out. So I can't change anything. I can really just go in here and run this play. So all of this is set. So I just want to, and even further, we could actually schedule this and just have it run periodically, and OpenShift would go in and pick up the new changes. But for the sake of this demo, let's pretend I'm a help desk technician that wants to install the CloudWatch agent on VMs. So I'm going to launch there. Okay, so that playbook is finished. It took about a minute to go in and configure all those. So it went through, and it looks like it did a lot of changes here. It really isn't all that complicated. What it basically did to every VM was it installed the EPEL repository to download the CloudWatch agent, and then it installed the CloudWatch agent, and it configured it via our configuration that we had. So let's go in here, and I have all of this documented. This is a role I took from actually Ansible Galaxy, which is a collection of public roles that you can dig into and things like that. So I'm going to go back to Ansible OpenShift, and we're going to look at my CloudWatch configuration. The important part here is that most teams want standardized log format in CloudWatch. So I've come up in here and I've set variables to create log group names. So environment, application, system, and then Ansible hostname. So the user doesn't have to go in and configure their own JSON file in CloudWatch. All this stuff is done automatically via Ansible. So we're kind of using the same concept that we did when we onboarded an application in OpenShift. We're doing the same thing with VMs here. We're controlling how these different packages are installed and how they're configured, so we have a uniform manner across the board. So let's go in here to CloudWatch. I'm going to go in and refresh, and there we go. So I forgot that I had to go in and attach the correct IAM profile to the instance to be able to load up to CloudWatch, but now we have it. So automatically, our Ansible playbook came in and it configured the CloudWatch log how we want it to be configured metrics how we want it to be configured, and properly configured the logs that we wanted to be in here. So that is the demo of installing CloudWatch logs and kind of controlling your package downloads and your security settings and things like that. One last thing that I wanted to touch on before I left is Ansible Galaxy. So The difference between Ansible and some other configuration management tools is the community behind all of Ansible. So I can go in here and I can just look for anything. So I can look for SSSD configuration just as an example. So that's Linux going to Active Directory or something like that. And I can borrow this play for free and load it on my system so I can reuse it. The other thing I want to show is the Ansible Automation Hub. So we'll go to cloud.redhat.com. And then we can check out the Automation Hub. So what's the big thing here is the collections. So a lot of the stuff that I use today in this demo were collections that are certified by Red Hat. So if I do OpenShift, so OpenShift is covered under the Kubernetes core. And that means, so this is a certified package. That means that all of these are backed by Red Hat. So if this package isn't working, I can open a ticket with Red Hat and I can get it fixed. We have supported ways to run Ansible modules. Aside from that, there's a ton of other stuff on GitHub. There's very little that I've ever had to write myself. Most of my inspiration has been borrowed or forked from somebody else. And that's one of the great things about Ansible. You're not pigeonholed into a vendor that controls all the source code. All of this is open source. And Red Hat, their certified modules, they open source this back to the community for the community to work on it. So it's kind of that give and take part. But that concludes my demo for today. I hope you enjoyed.